I am. God blessed me with a loud voice. My mother didn't always think it was a blessing, I'm sure. My children didn't either. But I move around a lot, so having the microphone is probably, if I come around here, can y'all hear me fine?
Yeah.
I thought you could. I'm just blessed with that beautiful booming voice. Because I'm not going to sit still, I don't do that well. Now, all of you are nurses, right? Okay. How many of you remember an evaluation that your nursing instructor did? Oh, I heard some moaning there. Okay. I mean, how did that go? You're going to find out I'm an interactive person. I'm just going to stand up here and talk to y'all. But how did that go? Who has an example of a good one? None of y'all were good.
I can't remember.
Oh, you don't remember.
We wiped that out.
You wiped that out. Okay, anybody? All right, who has a bad one? And I don't mean that you were bad, but that you felt like the evaluation wasn't fair or accurate. Y'all can make me share my dirt, not your dirt. Okay. Okay. I can remember mine, because they, one was good and one wasn't so good. She said, I give 110%, but I'm rather scattered. I'm kind of spastic. So that was, I was like, okay, well, I give 110, but obviously I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And then I had another one, and it wasn't so much a clinical evaluation, but it was one of those formative evaluations that you go in and they tell you how you're doing kind of at this point. And she said, I thought you were flippant at first, but now I realize it's just your sense of humor. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm coming across just real well here. But our evaluations are so important, and as clinical facilitators, you all will be doing a lot of the evaluation process for the students. And so it's important that you understand that process, and we want you to have some guidance into how that will work really, really well. Because whether you remember it or not, somewhere deep down in your psyche, you remember that at some point you thought somebody wasn't fair about what they said, that they had a wrong picture of who you were. So we're going to talk about that. Now, the final evaluation still rests on the faculty, but I'm telling you, we look to you just as if you were like an adjunct faculty, and we want to know what you have to say about the student's performance. Because you all are gatekeepers. When you choose to be in this position, then you become a gatekeeper just like we do to the profession, and you don't want somebody out there who's not adequate or who's not safe to do that. Now, the reality of it is, that's probably going to be rare if you ever have to deal with that. But you have to be honest, and you have to evaluate the students, and we need to communicate with the faculty that will be coming around, because if a student is not safe, then there are other things we could do. We could take them back to the lab, we can make them read more, we can make them look at some other things. So there's things that we can do as we get ready to do this evaluation. And I'm going to go through some of the steps with us today, but I want you to understand how important your role is in helping that student be all that they can be. Because how many of you see somebody first time and make some judgment decisions? Don't you kind of look at what they're wearing, whether they look professional, whether they don't look professional, if it's a student, if their papers are everywhere, if they didn't complete all their paperwork, if they show up late? Don't we make judgments? Okay, as an evaluation, that's what we're going to do. As we see that student, we're going to make those decisions right off the bat. So let's go through some of let's go through some of this. Do I just need to, will it go back?
Touch the mouse.
I am touching the mouse. Click the mouse. It looks like it kind of went into hibernation mode. I'm looking forward to on. I'm sorry. I knew it was going to be that kind of day when I woke up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead. I've got my, just so I can make sure you, and they handed you the handouts. All right. So what is the goal of evaluation? And I wrote it on there. Isn't it determine whether that student is acceptable or not? That is the whole point of evaluation. You know, we don't look at the student as a person as to whether they're acceptable. What are we looking at according to the definition? Their abilities, their behaviors, their demonstration. You can't say, I think this student isn't safe. You have to have concrete evidence of why that student isn't safe. And the flip side to all of this is you want to have concrete evidence when that student is doing the right thing, when they're doing all that they should be doing, which I hope is what you'll have more. The purpose of evaluation, obviously, is identify their existing ability. Should that student start in the same place and end in the same place in terms of ability? No, they should progress, shouldn't they? They should have a discernible, identifying behavior that shows that they have learned from you during that process. I know we had some clinical facilitators last time that looked at the student and said, I really don't know what to do with you. And we don't want you to say that to the student. And they weren't being ugly or unkind, they were unsure of their role. And one of the things you'll be doing is evaluating that student. But you're going to teach that student. You're responsible as the clinical preceptor to take that student from here and progress them there based on what you're teaching them. Okay, thank you, Libby.